here, but you might as well be. Hello and welcome to the Reds Report. It's Carlo and Ian this evening. Looking ahead, of course, to football being back at Oakwell. It seems like ages ago since we were last here, and it probably is a good, 2-3 week maybe. Ian, how are you doing? Have you got any snow? Because I'm hoping for a snow day tomorrow. Is there any sign of snow on the other side of the Pennines?
Oh no, not at all. It's full sun for the next couple of days, I think. Well, sunny and dry for once. No snow. Have you got it forecast?
Well, on some of the forecast stuff at work was saying, "Oh, I've got on the BBC weather app where you get a snowflake," and I was
Oh, are they trying to get Wangle a work from home day or something?
Well, it's a school, so it's either a snow day or it's a normal day. So, evening, boss. I'll be in tomorrow as well. Ian, we have to start with that performance on Monday night. Obviously, third round FA Cup, Barnsley away at Anfield, followed by 6,000 Barnsley fans packed away there. I did a couple of interviews that day. One of them was with Talk Sport, and I said beforehand, for me, it was always going to be about performance and not results because the odds were that Liverpool were going to. So an upset would have been great, but I think it was more important to see a performance to give it a real measure of what we are capable of. Well, the national press is still talking about Barnsley away at Anfield. What did you make of it?
Well, can we play like that every week, please? For once, we had a 90-minute performance where tactically they stuck to the plan. I thought out of possession, we were very disciplined. Ali McCoy was saying on TNT, it was a very disciplined, like a 4-5-1 out the ball. Everybody stuck to the task. Nobody did any giving stupid free kicks away, dangerous or anything in the pen. Well, let's face it. On top, just on the goals, 2 of them, if not 3 of them, were worldies anyway, weren't they? So. But no silliness like passing on the back and getting caught out that we've seen so much this season. They stuck to the task and we were a threat on the break, which was really good. I thought DKD, obviously Cleary was superb as well, and I just felt that for once I thought I can't think of a player that I could probably have a go at and say they had a write-off day, I thought. And the fact that Ali McCoy he had to pick 3 players for player of the match and then pick 1 out of that 3. And he actually said, my 3 are all in white. They're all in white. And then obviously, I think McManaman and Julian Lescott influenced it and he had to put a Liverpool player in. But ultimately, he wanted to pick 3 Barnsley players for his top 3. So I felt that in possession we did well. Our passing was good. I liked. There were so many key performances we can go on, but I just felt that it was the 4th. I think took the shine off a little bit. I think if anybody saw that scoreline, it didn't paint the picture of the game because it was finally balanced at 2-1 for a long time, and. I'm not saying it flattered Liverpool, but he had to bring 3 top players on to kill the game off. They need to see it out, and that is testament to our performance. So, like I say, 10 out of 10 for work ethic, discipline, passion. The heads didn't drop even at 2-0. So yeah, I suppose the acid test now, Carlo, is they've got to do it against the other pool, and that's Blackpool on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I know quite a few fans that went to Anfield, and we know, a fair few pints were drunk before and probably after the match. You got to hope, haven't you, that a lot of humble pie was eaten as well, because when the lineup was announced on Facebook, Twitter, and everything, the comments, I didn't put anything, but I felt were a bit like, wow. So the lineup that was given obviously was Murphy Cooper. Then you had Corey O'Keefe coming back after being recalled.
Oh, he had a great game.
Yeah, Tenai Watson, Malde Javigny, Jack Shepherd, Ogbeta, Cleary, Yoganathan, Bland, Phillips, and Davis Keeler-Dunn. And the comments from some Barnsley fans were absolutely atrocious. And I get it. because we've been fairly inconsistent, but you gotta trust Horan, haven't you? That he's gonna put what he feels is the best side. You can't outplay Liverpool. All you can do is try stopping and play, and then play on the break to try and score a goal. You just said it yourself. There were some players that I thought were absolute stars. I think all of them, every single one, were an amazing advert for League One football, for Barnsley Football Club, and to represent, that crest and that white shirt in this case. And I just want to pick a couple out because I know loads of people have talked about, but we've just said Corey O'Keefe gets recalled. He has a week or so with the squad. You can almost see why, Horahan wanted him back, because he fits in the system, doesn't he?
He does, and I don't think he's played 20 odd times or something for Stockport. I don't think he's been in and out in the side every week. So he's, I suppose his fitness is relatively good, but I just felt there was an aggression in there, but a controlled aggression. So he was like right up the backside of some players, but okay, give the odd foul away, but he didn't do anything stupid, and he was always prepared to go forward, which he does do a lot. So I thought he just seamlessly stepped into that side. I thought the likes of Better, who'd not played for a while, he was probably never going to do 90 minutes. I thought he stood up to the task. I thought, I'm trying to think, I mean, Shepherd was solid at the back. I felt.
Well, the other one I wanted to point out was
even Jürgen Nathan, that can be a bit in and out, as you're going to get with young players. They're going to be inconsistent, and he can have a bit of a shocker where he gets sent off against Bolton, and then he can come back and really play well. I thought he didn't get carried away. It was controlled. He didn't try anything stupid. The passes were sensible passes that were effective. So I thought he looked solid in the middle as well. And then obviously DKD ran Van Dijk to pieces at times. And obviously Cleary just had, Gomez was on a yellow card and was roasting him all the time. And every time he went forward, there was most of the time there's some end product, and that's what was really good. Even with Phillips, who we've been critical of, has been sort of drifted in and out of games this season, probably not been as effective, maybe because he's played in a different position. But look at some of the crosses he's put in, look at some of the things he did. He was so much more effective. So I think a lot of them were a solid 8 out of 10, and some were like 9 out of 10. So yeah, the ones we've mentioned there, especially the ones like O'Keefe, who stepped in, who'd only just come back to the club, I thought, fair play to them.
And all this, of course, without captain, who got a red a couple of weeks prior, so obviously was excluded.
I don't think we missed him. I wouldn't say we missed him.
I was just going to say, and it's horrible to say, but and I get it. You looked at that midfield, and you think, when you're up against like, Curtis Jones is there, McAllister's there, but you look at Barnsley, you look at the midfield, Jürgen Nathan, Bland. I mean, that's youth in the centre of midfield, isn't it? That just those two. But I tell you what, played beyond the years, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I've always been a fan of Connell, and I do think his performances have tailed off in the last maybe year or so. He's not been at that level he was maybe under Duff when he first come to the club. But the engine that we had in there with the youth, they covered every blade of grass. What Connell used to do more regularly. And I just felt that when we got the ball, we tried to turn it and look forward for a pass rather than let's go back again. Or they were a bit more braver with the ball in trying to hit on the break. And I felt that that's why I felt he wasn't missed, because the lads in there did a really good job of protecting the back four first and foremost, breaking Liverpool up, but then also looking to spring a counter. So I thought, that's why I thought we didn't miss him.
Credit to every single player. I can't have an episode this week without credit to Conor Horahan for the way he handled the Summersley incident. I did another interview today, and they were saying that they were fully agreed with Conor Horan. It was disrespectful to Barnsley. It was disrespectful to EFL, and they asked our opinion. I completely agree, and I'll tell you now. I said that most definitely the cup competitions, they're all geared towards Premier League clubs. I mean, we have to play the under-23s of some of these clubs in a competition that they are never going to win, but we have a chance to. That besides the point. Your take? I call it. Somebody says, "Well, he could have had a rush to the head." As a paid footballer, especially of his standard, you don't back heel in your own area. I mean, Arne Slot said after the game, you don't do it in the Premier League, you don't do it in the Champions League, you don't do it in training. And he was going to have a word. Do you see it as disrespectful? Do you see it as maybe arrogant? What did you make of it?
At first, in sort of lifetime, I thought he just dropped an absolute clanger, and he probably just had a bit of a brain fart and didn't realise what he was doing almost. But I think actually afterwards, when I heard the comments from Conor, I kind of mentioned it to a couple of lads at work who were not Barnsley fans, and they were like, "That was absolutely spot on. He was being disrespectful. He would not have done that against Arsenal or Chelsea or Real Madrid. No way, or Man City. He would not have even dreamt of that. And he's a good enough player to get out of that trouble in that situation. So why is he doing it? Yeah, playing percentages and just hoof it into the crowd and defend the throw-in. So yeah, he would never have done that against any other side. And so I think Conor I agree with him. He was spot on with that.
Yeah, obviously we won't be facing Brighton at home in the next round. We'll leave that to Liverpool. What was followed after the FA Cup match or the fantastic performance against Liverpool, should I say, was a fan forum at Oakwell earlier this week. Now various social media groups obviously report on this. Just a couple of the things. So one of the things that came out when they said, this is Conor's first gig as a head coach. He probably will make mistakes. He is being guided, he's being spotted, he will make mistakes. The inconsistency we sometimes see in results are not all down to him, but, an explanation was given of some of the players that came in probably weren't of the caliber that they thought they were. We'll talk about people like Ferrugia that probably, hopefully, they were referring to, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But they said, he's here for the long term. That's refreshing to hear, isn't it? A Barnsley ownership group talking about the manager who is probably wants to be in a better position than what he is now, although we have the game in hand. But the owner saying he is here for the long term. I mean, that's a huge step forward. Or is it maybe just, words and it remains to be seen. But they seem serious about investing time in Conor, and they believe he's got the promise of being, up there.
Yeah, it is refreshing. And I thought it was a very bold comment. Given the fact that we're a couple of points above the relegation zone, and if our league form does go really down the pan, and we have a shocking February, for instance, or something like then they'll be under pressure, because we know what this board have done in recent years, where they've got rid of a manager before the season's even ended, not waited for the playoffs or being ruled out of the playoffs. Mathematically, they've wielded the axe. So I think proof will be, but it's refreshing, and I hope it happens, because, and I know on social media it's hard to gauge real fan thoughts and behaviours, because they can be really loud on social media but not loud in the ground. And I think it's refreshing that they would want to build and give. Because realistically, any manager should really have 3 or 4 transfer windows. January is a difficult transfer window, but I suppose in modern times you don't get that, do you? You get one transfer window, and if it's not working, you're out. But it would be refreshing to see them stick by him and try and build something longer term, and give him the 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Because let's face it, we're not going up this season, are we, realistically? So I don't think we are. So bold, but I still think judge us by our actions, and the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? Really, if what they think. But I think you can't just write him off after half a season, can you?
No. And I think he's probably earned it in his playing career for Barnsley and the way he started, because we know what he's capable of.
Oh yeah,
But it
and
I
I'm not
suppose
saying he hasn't. I'm not saying he's without errors or he's not made, errors of judgment, but that's going to come with, like we were saying about these younger players, they will have inconsistencies, just like somebody new to a role in management is going to make some boobs.
yeah,
The new Real Madrid manager has come out and said, hold his hands up and said, I was at fault a week in the team for that Copa del Rey and had been knocked out by a second division side. People will make mistakes. You've just
yeah,
got to they've got, as long as they learn by them. So I'm not saying he's perfect, but I like the fact that he's got quite a good influence over the transfer window. I like some of the signings, and I like what his demands of the players are. Rather than last season, the manager coming out and absolutely slating his players to the press week in, week out, I think Connor will, the way his work ethic and everything. I think these lads are still playing for him. So
yeah.
until he lost the dressing room, which he doesn't look like he's going to lose the dressing room
No.
anytime soon, then you keep with it, you stick with him.
Oh, absolutely. Another interesting point, and we'll close the fun for a bit of there, that I thought was about they're not replacing the director of football, Mladen, who left. Was it? It was end of last season, wasn't it? That he
Yeah,
left. They're saying John Flatman was part of the recruitment process alongside Mladen, and he's learned a lot. And they obviously pointed out that I think DKD was when he came. John Flatman was at the club and involved in that. Reyes Cleary, of course, which is the buzzword now around South Yorkshire and EFL football. He was part of that. And he talked about a system where three people have to give a green light, and I believe that to be recruitment, the board, and Connor. And I think that sounds like a change from how it has been, because at times it felt that the data analyst and the Excel crunchers came up with names. This is the one because the formula says he's going to be really good. And it felt like the other head coaches maybe a bit arms behind the back saying, right, you would just need to go along with this. And it didn't always work. Whereas, recruitment, we're going to talk about specific players in a bit, but overall, Krijn is back involved. But the fact that Horahan has, a say and he needs to agree with it for it to go ahead, you'd like to think that bodes well for this transfer window and the upcoming ones, because Connor is a footballer. He knows what's needed for his vision of Barnsley FC, so he needs to be the key part in that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's refreshing that they've looked and said, well, certain practices haven't worked, so we'll look at it this way. On paper, it sounds good because, like you say, you can make stats look like you can read them any way, which way you want, can't you? With stats and data. Connor wants to know what the person's like, what the character's like. Are they the type of character to be playing for this football club? So you'd like to think with that and some of the data and video analysis, seeing how good they are, that it should bode well. The thing is, we can't get too carried away because what was also mentioned on the fan forum is budgets. And I said on podcast, probably the last one or the one before, we are, well, when we were about 12th or 13th, we are where our budget is.
Yeah.
We're not going to be spending 750,000 on another DKD like we did the other year. It's going to be loans and free agents, isn't it? Because they haven't got the money. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. It sounds promising, but like anything with the fans, it's who comes in and who goes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Proof will be in the pudding, like I said before.
Well, you just mentioned who goes in, who goes out. Farrugia, Russell, and Cooper, three of the main ones, probably. Cooper, I have to say, and I don't need to because I'm just a fan. I don't understand why you would bring a loan keeper is going back to bring another loan keeper in, unless there is some plan or there's been a bid for him or whatever. But they said it suited both the clubs. And I wish we had our own. But clearly, Kieran Flavel, whilst hardly thought of, they probably think he's not ready or needs more. Well, I don't know. Farrugia, he was always a little bit of I think the willingness were there, but I think the level was maybe a step too much for him
Yeah,
coming over from the League of Ireland. I wish him well
yeah.
at Dundee, genuinely do. He never really got a chance because I think they when he arrived, they probably knew soon enough that he wasn't the answer to whatever the question was he?
No, and like you say, you got the effort off him, but I suppose it's difficult for a player to try and influence a game when he's only brought on for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. So I felt a little bit of sympathy for him, but it was maybe square pegs round holes. It just wasn't the right fit, was it? The keeper one is a bit of a strange one because he was signed for the full season, um, and he's done all right, anti really. The problems have been the defence in front of him that's been shipping the goals. And I know he's not the biggest goalkeeper, and I just wonder, and I know we were interested in this lad who's coming from Palace who was at Huddersfield. I think we were interested in him in the summer. Now, whether Connor wants a big, because he's quite an imposing goalkeeper, whether he just wants he wants that big imposing keeper in there rather than the shorter one in Murphy Cooper. Whether it's that because he's not going back off his performances, is he?
No.
And I think most people have been happy to keep him. So whether it's he just wants that big physicality in goal, the only thing is this lad. The only time I've seen him was at Oakwell when he had a shocker and he got sent off for clattering the Goldrick. And I think before that he'd done another. He kept kicking it into touch and everything. And I thought he had a stinker that day, so he better play better than he did against for Huddersfield that day.
Yeah. It mentioned a financial benefit as well, so I wonder if the wages for this new one that's come in are maybe a little bit, maybe a little less. John Russell has joined Mansfield. Again, I sometimes feel that Russell and Phillips. Whilst Phillips, I think is for me personally a better footballer than John Russell, and I know it's different areas of the pitch, but Russell, I always felt it appeared like a lack of effort almost. Not many tackles, not much running. I mean, he's gone to Mansfield again, bits appearances, a couple of minutes here, 20 minutes there. Not somebody we're going to hugely miss, is it? Because again,
no, I've seen some comments online, people saying, "Oh, we've let another goal scorer go" and stuff like that. But he come from Huddersfield, hadn't he? And they were in the Championship at the time. And I'm just thinking, he is no way near a Championship footballer. And I know he's got that language style about him, and he looks lazy and stuff. But honestly, it's not just that; it was his level of passing. And he just couldn't get up to speed with games. Yes, he scored some goals, but for me, I didn't think he was good enough to be in the first team, and I think it's probably right to move him on. A lot of people will have a different opinion. I think, well, he scored goals and he could make an impact, but the management have seen enough to make that decision, and it's right to just get on with it, move him on. I just felt that in a midfield that we were talking about having energy, pace, tenacity, he's got none of that. And he's got none of that. Let's have it, but and that's just unfortunate. That's just his style. But I've looked at him for a few seasons now, and I've struggled to see how he was in a Championship squad and a team that was quite well up in the Championship when he was there. And I'm thinking, I don't see it personally, and it shows that he's gone to another League One side, so he can't be that. If he was that good, Championship sides would be after him.
Yeah. I still remember the interview I did with the Huddersfield guys, either last season or season before. No, it was last season, and they asked how he was getting on, and they said that they liked him, because he scored goals now and then. But every now and then he'd go into sloth mode, and that's what they called it. And no, you can see where they come from. So they're the ones that have left, and obviously, well, more than likely there'll be more outgoings than incomings. I do want to talk while we're talking about transfer period about another thing that came up. I think rumored bits. Cleary and DKD, clearly the two favourites, or the two with the highest price tag, and rightly so. Just imagine you are the owner of Barnsley Football Club. My stance is that a player is only worth what other clubs want to pay for him. So we can say he's worth 5 million, but to me, if you look at a DKD and you look at League One, Championship, if somebody was to come with a bid of 2.5, 3 million, you've got to sell, ain't you? I know he's on the contract and everything, but when we talked earlier about the finance and everything else, maybe I'm wrong, and it's very much a game of opinions. But if a serious bid comes in, I don't think we can be under any illusion that they won't sell him, because that's how a club survives, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's Blackburn Rovers that are putting a couple of bids for Cleary. And the article I read in the Lancashire Telegraph was that I think there's some, I don't know how true this is, but there's some suggestion there's a 5 million tag from Barnsley. I don't know how true that is.
No.
But then there was rumours that they were interested in DKD and 2 million would get him. And you think, well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because from a fan's point of view, if you keep those players, they score and make goals, and we want to go up the table.
Yeah.
And if you sell them, you've got to replace them. And if you don't replace them, you replace them with players who are not as good, then you drop down the table, don't you, ultimately?
Yeah.
But you've got to look at what Neerav has come out with, and it's clearly that they don't have that deep pockets. And it's clear that they're struggling, there's redundancies. The reason why they didn't take up the extra 3,000 tickets, because they're letting people go, but then they can't then turn around and say, well, we'll chuck 50 grand at some tickets that we might not sell. So they've got to make some really cold, hard decisions. So ultimately, if somebody like Blackburn Rovers, and I know they're not high up in the table, but if like a big Championship club comes in, the player's going to want to go. The agent's going to want him to go, because they all get money, they all get better wages, and a chance to play in a higher league. And the fact that if they come up with the right money, then everybody's happy, because Barnsley then make maybe 1.2 million on DKD. If that is true, it's 2 million. Let's say, for argument's sake, you pay 750 for him, and you sell him for 2 million. So, from a fan's point of view, you don't want to sell your best players, but the reality is, if somebody comes in with a proper offer, don't roll over. If you come in with a proper offer, you've got to take it. You've got to take it.
Yeah,
the hope is that some of that gets put back into the squad, but let's face it, 100% of it won't be being put back in.
No, and it's, of course, I'm not saying that if a bid comes in, you need to sell them both, because they are our assets at the moment. And if we want to improve on last season, we need them, don't we? And if they play well till the end of this season, you get ready for maybe a rookie summer, but you do have longer than till Loken's available, because this is always January. The problem we've got, isn't it, that strikers are hard to come by anyway, and you're looking probably at maybe Premier League team, under 21s or under 23s to give them experience. We're heavily relying on DKD for the goals. We know we are, because of the system that we play. I'm not suggesting we should let them both go, because they would need to be replaced. But I think for Neerav and the board, if a decent bid was to come in for one of them, they have to think of the sustainability and the prudent with the money. Like you say, there's been redundancies within the club. They didn't take the tickets up because they would have to pay for it. So if they're doing that, they need to do the other bit as well, don't they? So listen, we still need players, don't we? O'Connell has come in. Yeah. The keeper has come in today, but up front, still desperate, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And like I said, that's without selling any of the strikers, or maybe somebody going out on loan, like maybe Jallo or something, to get some games. I don't know whether that is actually true, but we are short, because goals win your football matches, and the way our defence has been, we need to score 3 every game just to get something out of it, don't we? Yeah. So we need to score.
Yeah, we waxed very lyrical about the performance on Monday against Liverpool, rightly so. Am I right in saying, though, it means absolutely naff all if we don't win on Saturday?
Absolutely. If we put a stinker in of a performance on Saturday, then the knives are back out again, aren't they? And it is. You look at the table; it's a relegation 6-pointer, isn't it? Really, if you look where Blackpool are, and they have been inconsistent since Ian Evatt took over. They've won some, they've lost some. They seem to have done better against the top teams, but they've had some poor performances. He's not turned it around just yet.
No.
It's
they've lost the last three: 5-1 Port Vale, 2-1 Bradford, and Ipswich in the FA Cup. And
Yeah, they've had a bad Christmas. They've had a bad Christmas, definitely.
Yeah, and then if you look at the table, I mean, they've played 25 and got 29 points. We've played 21 and got 29 points. So, a win tomorrow takes you up to 32, which currently would be Mansfield, obviously completely different. But it's both teams out of form a little bit. At home, there have been flashes, but it's that 90 minutes we need, isn't it? We need performance like the Liverpool performance. But I suppose sometimes the only reason we played so well is because they played as well, didn't they? If we'd have sat back and Connor would have said, we're going to, to Demet limitation, I don't want to become an Exeter, it probably would have ended up an Exeter. But because we're willing to play, it's about grabbing the bullet by the horns. How do you see it going? Because is there a little bit of maybe like a hangover, do you think, from the Liverpool match? I'm hoping they get the biggest welcome ever from the fans in the ground on Saturday, and I'll be there because the ones that couldn't go, you want to show your appreciation, don't you? But it's key that we start in a similar vein as we did on Monday.
Yeah, we've got to start the game well, which we did at Anfield. You just don't. You just want that intensity, don't you? That concentration and intensity that they showed for 90 odd minutes at Liverpool. If they show that in the majority of games, then they should, pick up quite a few points in games because we've got some match winners. I do fear that we might then revert back to type. Ashley Fletcher, ex-players, scored a few goals for Blackpool. You can just see us being 2-0 down in 20 minutes, can't you? Something and struggling to get back to 2-2. So it's just very typical of us to kind of not kick on. That's what we need to do, is try and kick on from that performance and start putting those performances into the league and get up this table and get a bit of confidence. But we've not got a great record against Blackpool recently, so it's not going to be easy.
No. Obviously, injuries or potential injury side. We know Earl has broke a bone in his foot, so he's going to be out for a bit. We know we've brought O'Connell into the club. Now, looking ahead, you play Blackpool on Saturday. Then it's another Saturday, the week after, where you're away at Reading, and then the Tuesday after you've got Cardiff away. So Reading and Cardiff, both away. Blackpool then on Saturday before we finish off. Would you keep the same that started at Liverpool, or would you make, obviously barring any injuries, would you start the same ones? Because clearly it's somewhat clicked, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Alberto needs minutes. I think he'll get. I'd like to see more Georgie Gent. He needs to get some minutes in, so he may come in. I thought Watson had a good game on Monday night as well, so I don't think anybody deserves dropping off the performance. I would pretty much stick with it, I think, but maybe like to see get some minutes. But I think I'd like to think it should pick itself from the last performance. But I think there'll be goals in this one. I think it could be a bit of a ding-dong game because both are fighting for points, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, I'd love a clean sheet. I absolutely would love a win and a clean
Hold
sheet.
your breath.
Well, no. So and because of what you just said, I mean, I said 2-1 on the radio this morning, but I'll go my favourite scoreline 3-1. Devante goal. Oh no, you don't. Not Devante goal. I think given the fact that they've been out of form a little bit, we gave it all, but it was Monday. They've had time to rest, recover, and everything else. I'd be surprised if DKD or Reyes, or maybe both of them, are not on the score sheet. But if I keep saying that, it'll be guaranteed 0-0 and an absolute bore in the -3. How do you see this one going? First goal scorer and full-time result.
I'm going full-time result 3-2 to Barnsley. I think it'll be like that Leyton Orient game where it was a bit ding-dongish, where again we didn't control it very well, but played well in patches. So I think I'll go 3-2. First goal scorer. It's a tough one. I think you got to go maybe DKD because although he didn't score, he put in a great performance, and I think he's buzzing at the minute. I think he looks lively. I think he causes any team problems.
Yeah, and I really hope this, because we're going into a run again of Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. it's almost like the start of the new year. We're almost, well, Blackpool is already, but we're almost halfway, having played half the number of games this season. And I know sometimes we've looked and we thought, what are they doing? But I because we know what they are capable of, it's a mindset thing almost, isn't it?
It is,
It's but I genuinely hope that the performance and the result again on Saturday, ignites the fans yet again. This is the time for Oakwell to become a fort again, isn't it? We've talked loads about the away performances last season and season before, and we were, unbeatable. It's imperative that Oakwell becomes that. We start climbing the table a little bit. We've got the games in hand, but they mean nothing unless you're consistently winning. And you can say, oh, 3 games, easy 7 points there or whatever. But as it stands now,
well, I would say Blackpool's a must-win if you've got to go to Reading and Cardiff in your next 2 games. I think,
because it's the
not that
confidence
they're
thing,
not beatable. Say again.
It's about the confidence, isn't it? They should have confidence from the performance against Liverpool. If you then have a good result against Blackpool, because confidence breeds confidence, doesn't it? And when you go away to Cardiff on a Tuesday night, if anything, but then again, somebody said at work to me today, says you talk about Cardiff and you're worried, but that's like a mini Liverpool, isn't it? They're not running away with it, but the clear favourites. It tends to be those sort of teams that, we can be. They're just probably more consistent than us, or consistently winning. That's what I want. And obviously, we're hoping to. So 3-2, you're going for, DKD first.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope so. We will be back in probably a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully, Steve will be able to join us. He's going through a bit of a rough patch, this lad. So he knows that we're thinking about him, and he knows where we are. But let's hope he's back in a couple of weeks. You've been listening to the Reds Report, proud to be part of the TalkSport networks of fans. And until in a couple of weeks, see you then.